Hi everyone, welcome back to another quick tutorial with Jacqui B Photography. Those that know me, as I do little workshops around Melbourne or Victoria. We go out to Marysville or out to Nuji, Walhalla. We also do Ride in Melbourne, Princess Pier, out at Dramana. So we have them all over the place, sometimes Williamstown and a few other areas around Melbourne. So what I want to show you today is how similar Lightroom is to Camera Raw. And what I'm going to do right now is show you this is Camera Raw and this is Lightroom. So you can see they are extremely similar. I'll flick back, Camera Raw, Lightroom. Basically, if I open up that Basics panel there, and you've got your Basics panel along here. So this little boy, I just want to show you a very quick edit and how different or how similar these two are. So the first thing that I would do in this photograph is I'm going to choose the Adobe profile. So let's have a look here at our different profiles that we have. So we've got Color, Monochrome, Adobe Landscape, Portrait, Standard, and Vivid. I think for this we'll choose Landscape. And it's just going, once I've chosen, it just pops back to where it was before. Now for us to find that in Lightroom, let's just pop over here. And it is in the bottom little camera calibration here. Open that up. And down here we have our choices. I won't click through all of them, but we'll just stay on Landscape just like we have done over here, just for time purposes. Okay, so the next thing I want you to do is just go back to Photoshop. So this is Camera Raw up the top. Is we're going to choose our lens correction. I want you to click on this little area here. I'm not going to worry about remove chromatic aberration. There's not much of that in this photograph, but we will enable the profile correction to this image. So that's going to lighten up this area. Let's go back to Lightroom and see where it is in there. So you need to close off this panel, but if you click on lens correction here, there's our remove chromatic aberration. I'm going to enable our lens correction in here. You'll see that area lighten up. Excellent. Fantastic. So we're looking very much the same in both. We've got our little histogram up the top here, and over in Photoshop, we've got our histogram going on up here. Now both of these will tell you exactly what this image was shot at. So it was a 5.6, 1/60th of a second, 400 ISO with 1/400 lens shot at the 400 length. So that's one of those great big long lenses. So I'll go over here and you can see that information along the top here as well. So this is our little histogram. We can do edits by just sliding our histogram around if we like, but we're going to do each one individually. So the next step I want to show you is we're going to choose our white balance. So let's pop up here to Basics, and our white balancers are here when we hit As Shot. And I'm going to shoot through these. We're still on Adobe Lightroom, and we can click through. And you'll see each time I click that the white balance becomes a little bit warmer. The temperature here will move towards the yellow side, and the tint will stay very similar to where it is. So we go cloudy, you can see that moving up. Tint's only gone up by 10. Shade, tint stayed at 10, 7,500. Tungsten we won't use, it's too blue, and so is fluorescent. Flash always looks quite nice. And custom. Now for custom, we pick on the eyedropper, and it wants to find a target that's light. These areas won't work, but maybe right over here in the corner, and that gives us a nice white balance. So let's have a look how to do white balance in Photoshop, and you'll find that we go back here to the first basic panel, and we have white balance here. So these are our white balances here. As we go through, we can choose and see how warm and cold again that these will become. But what I'm going to do is we're going to pick our own white balance. So we want to use this little white balance tool up here. And by hitting the I on your keyboard, you can actually activate that little eyedropper, or you can grab it up the top and see how it picks the right colour for you. Now I'm actually not liking this grey that's around the edge here, and you'll find that we have that also around the edge here. Let's go to a white. So what I've done is I've just right clicked over the grey and let's say white, or we could go black. Might be easier to work with. Let's go back to Photoshop and do the same thing. So I'm right clicking over that area and let's go black. Dark grey. What do we choose here? Dark grey. Okay, so now the next thing that we want to do is lift our shadows. Let's lift those up a little bit, and again we are back in Lightroom, and we're going to look at our highlights. I'm going to take our highlights down. Let's have a look at our whites. Now you can find a white by hitting the Alt key and then dragging, and you'll see it show up on the sides. I want to do it today by eye. Our blacks by eye. Now down here we have where we can cycle between the two photographs and see what we look like. Are we getting better or worse? That's the one I like to see. And I think we're a bit better. We've got a nice colour going on there. This will take us back to one individual image. So let's do the same thing as what we did here. Let's do it over on Photoshop. So again, we played with our shadows. So let's bring our shadows up. And sometimes that can look different between the two. Over our highlights. Do we need exposure in it? Yes, just a little bit. Our blacks. And our whites. Excellent. Now one thing that Adobe Photoshop has, or Camera Raw has, is it has texture. I want to show you what texture does. We don't really need that, so we'll leave that off. I feel like my little white balance has changed, so let's just hit that again. Clarity. Let's leave it as it is. Maybe a little bit up on the clarity. Dehaze, if there's any haze in the picture, will go away. Vibrance, I don't really want to use. We don't want to make him orange. And saturation we'll leave as is. Let's pop over to Lightroom and look at the two. So again, we don't have that texture. We have a little bit of clarity. Tiny bit of vibrance, but we don't really want that in there either. Doesn't that look awful? Okay, I'm going to leave tone curve for today. That's where you make an S. I don't think we need to do it. Okay guys, there's some few other things I want to show you that's very similar in both, but for you to look and zoom in, just double click. As long as there is a little looking glass there, you can zoom in. So let's go over to Photoshop. So back here we have a little zoom key as well. Now zoom is activated by hitting the letter Z, but if we want to move around, we can hit the letter H for hand, and that allows us to move around the screen. Hit Z again for zoom, and you can zoom in. H for hand, and you can move around. Lightroom, again, we can zoom in, and then the hand will be automatically activated for us to move around. You can choose here to fit, fill, one-on-one, or anything that you would like. Let's put that a little bit lower. I think we've covered most everything. I don't want to go into this area. I just wanted to show you what was similar. I haven't shown you that here we have our crop tool here for cropping the photograph. Click to turn it off or hit done. Over in Photoshop, let's just put him back on fitting on the screen, and we have our crop tool here to crop the photograph as well. So we can crop it any way that we want. Let's Control Z that back. So Control Z on your keyboard will take you backwards. And then let's just go back onto the zoom. We've got little local adjustments here. We can use spot remover. So that is just by hitting something like that, and it will find a matching spot. Now, if you want to make your spot bigger, hit the plus and minus bracket on your keyboard. We have our red eye here. Over in Lightroom, you'll find your red eye is right here. All these items are all the same, but just along the top here. This is your rotate the image button. Now let's go through here so you can see all the different things. This is your tone curve, which is the same thing as in here. Here is your sharpening. So don't ever over sharpen because you'll get too many blacks going on in here. We don't need to. Bring your sharpening tool back, and you've got luminous, and if you do that as well, you lose a lot of your clarity. So to find that over in Lightroom, I'm just going to take you down, and it is in here. So we've got sharpening and we've got noise reduction under detail. Let's go back to Photoshop. This is our hue, saturation, and luminous. This is our hue, saturation, and luminous, and we can find that over in Lightroom under the panel of HSL, and there's all the same. Split toning is here. Same thing as here. We've used that one. We have FX, which is our post vignetting, so we can make it darker or lighter if we want to. We have the same thing over here. There you go. There it is there. Let's just pop it back. If you double click on the word on the side, it'll go back to the middle. Okay, these here are your shadows in your calibration. And again, we have that over here under camera calibration. Okay, this palette I'm not going to worry too much about. That there is kind of like presets that we've got going on in Lightroom, and we have them in Lightroom over here. So anything that I make, I save, and I've got all these different little presets. So I can just click on those at any time, and that will give me something that I've made at another time. So this one I've called Jara, so this is one I made for lions. And so you can change it to black and white. It's just a colour preset that you like and you don't want to lose, you might want to use later. You can save it over here. And with Photoshop, it's down here. Okay. And this one here, it's just a snapshot. So if you like this one that you've taken, if you like what you've done here, you can create a snapshot and then continue going on with your editing. And then if you don't like what you've done, you come back to that part of your snapshot. Again, that is the same over here, but it's on the left-hand side. So there is your snapshot. And to do a snapshot, you just need to have a plus. You tell it what you want it. So you might say after editing, and create, and then you have that snapshot there. So if I wanted to change this to black and white, now it'll show it in my history here that I converted to a black and white. But if I want to go back to the snapshot that I had before, I can hit after editing and it will take me back to that area without me having to keep going back in my history over here. So that is exactly the same that we have here. We can create a snapshot and then we can easily go back to it. Well, that about covers everything very quickly. we'll do some more on all of this, but for now, that's all. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If so, don't forget to go over and like me on Facebook or come to www.jacquibphotography and take a look at what we do. You can save your image here. You can open the image up in Photoshop or just go on the left-hand side and hit save. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to put on some videos of some of my students, and you may like to join me one day when the COVID-19 is all finished and gone. Okay, see you next time.
So Angie, why did you decide to take a photography workshop?
I was interested in upskilling in photography, and I didn't want to go in the classroom setting and read textbooks and do things without being exposed to what I really want, and that's to be out taking photos and just fine-tuning the skills. So
excellent. Did you enjoy it?
I did.
Excellent.
It's really easy pace and it's hands-on, which is just the way I like to learn.
Thanks, Ange. And how come you took a photography lesson?
Okay, well, I'm going on holiday in a few weeks' time, and I really needed a refresher course on how to take good landscape photos. And see, Jacqui is really good because I've been on quite a few different classes with her, and yeah, she'll get me back up to speed again in no time.
So why a photography lesson?
Because I want to improve my photography skills. I want to learn how to use my camera and to know, how to use the light and how to use different features that normally I would have no idea.
Okay, cool.